Hi, so this will be a quick kind of one-off video on repairing a microwave. At least the simplest method of repairing it, which is replacing a blown out fuse. So, a while back, well, the microwave just stopped working. It simply did not turn on. Even when it was plugged in, the LED indicators were completely off. So, we're planning on doing a home renovation and we don't want to spend a ton of money on a new microwave unless we absolutely have to. So my first instinct was to try and open it up. Now, unlike other consumer electronics, microwaves are notoriously hazardous to open up because of the fact that they have this little thing, a high voltage capacitor. Now, for those of you who don't know, capacitors can store a tremendous amount of electrical current, and discharging those, if it ends up discharging through yourself or your physical body, can lead to excruciating pain, if not death. So you got to be real careful when working with anything that contains high voltage capacitors, such as but not limited to microwaves, uninterrupted power supplies, power supply units in general, and well, anything else where, high voltage is used, and maybe even some old CRT monitors. In any sense, well, I'll quickly put on some insulating gloves and replace the fuse, which, as you can see, is not looking so good. Kind of burned out. Well, I mean, it actually shattered in half. I just glued it together to illustrate how it was supposed to be positioned. Now, one thing to note is that this fuse over here is a 20 amp fuse rated for up to 125 volts. The replacement fuse I got, which was this one, is 20 amps, but rated for 250 volts. Now, I don't know much about electrical engineering, but my understanding is that this fuse should, in theory, still work up to, with voltages exceeding what it was originally rated for. Now, if I were to say use a lower voltage fuse and I plugged it in to the 120 volt or whatever North American outlet has, it's gonna blow, which is fine, it's a cheap fuse. My concern here is that if I use a fuse for a higher voltage than the initial fuse was rated for, well, they had to have chosen a 125 volt fuse for a reason, and there might be some kind of limit towards the amount of, well, the voltage, I know it's drawn, whatever the term is, that it shouldn't go over. In any sense, as an extra safety precaution, I'll be including a cheap circuit breaker in, series to the main kind of power outlet, which runs into a wall outlet. And if anything bad happens and, the first fuse doesn't trip, hopefully the, hopefully the second one will trip. So on that note, I will quickly plug in my, or put on my gloves, swap out the fuse, which, as you can see, all you need to do is just simply pop it out, put in a new one, and resume the recording from there. All right, so the fuse has been put in. Another thing to note, this is a ceramic fuse, whereas the other one, I believe, was some lead wire containing fuse. Anyways, circuit breaker's on. All we have to do is take this plug it in here, and hope at the very least the system powers on without, much load. And then we'll test it out under operation. So here goes nothing. Okay. I'm half surprised it actually worked. Well, now we actually have our microwave on. Let's put it under some load. As you can see, I'm kind of nervous. Also, everything's exposed. Okay. So it's working fine. I'm just a little paranoid, so I'm gonna back up a little. And if anything goes wrong in the next 15 seconds, I will drop this phone and immediately unplug the circuit breaker. Also, another thing to note is after I unplug it, there will be residual charge that lies in the capacitor. There will be a residual charge that lies in the capacitor, and unless I have a death wish, I have no intent of touching it. Now, before we close everything up, let's take a quick look inside. Just make sure we don't see any smoke, burned components. The fuse seems fine. So I tentatively will call this a success. Instead of buying a $150 microwave, which I actually need to cancel my order from Amazon, you can replace your own, well, you can repair your own microwave if a fuse is blown, assuming you have the correct fuse. So you can always find indications for what fuse to use, on, I might need a magnify for this, here. So this is the model number. If it'll ever focus. Come on. Well, let's try the other end. The other end has information about the voltage and stuff like that. Well, I tried. Oh, there we go. 125 volts, 20 amps. And if I can maintain focus, some model information. In any sense, you know, find the correct fuse. People at your various home hardware stores will be able to help you with that. And yeah, this is the fuse that I used for a 20 amp, well, 250 volt fuse. Oh, and also, you know, we're in North America. Anyways, so on that note, yeah, I'll just say thanks for watching.